Coming up next on Public Access TV is Fan to Fan, a half-hour sports interview show hosted by me, Dave Hornfischer. In this episode, we talk about the Boston Marathon with runner Mike Bauer and Cathy Miles, a founder of Force, the charity for which Mike's run this year will help support and raise funds. Stay tuned. This will run fast and give you hope. Welcome to Fan, a sports interview show whose focus is on all things sports in the Metro West area. I'm your host, Dave Hornfischer, and today I'm pleased to welcome veteran marathon runner Mike Bauer, runner of 26 marathons, I think, and Cathy Miles, a founder of Force, a charity working to deal with the opioid epidemic in Metro West. Mike, Cathy, welcome to Fan. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Mike, why don't we get started you're going to run 26 miles, and I said you've done it before, so This isn't new, but how do you get yourself ready to do that?
Well, the Boston Marathon has the particular challenge of being a marathon in the early spring, which means we have to train in the winter. And if you don't train, you won't be ready. So I usually do a 20 to 25 week training program.
Wow.
Where it really picks up with 20 weeks to go. And you get your mileage. You start out running like 15 to 20 miles a week. And then over the course of the entire program, we get up around 40 to 45 miles a week. Mm-hmm. We do long runs on weekends, runs of anywhere between 10 and 22 miles. And luckily this year I'm part of Team Framingham for the first time since the inception of Team Framingham. And I'm heading up the training program for Team Framingham, and I've had the privilege of running with a lot of good runners who are on the team this year, and looking forward to the marathon in 3 or so weeks.
Well, that's great. You mentioned Team Framingham right in the front of our table here. We've got a list of the runners on it, but you were one of the founders of this. In fact, did you say you were the guy that had the initial thought behind this, which is, well, why don't you give us a little bit of a background of Team Framingham?
Sure. A little bit of history was I got elected to the Board of Selectmen in April of 2013, and 2 weeks after I was elected, I ran that marathon, which resulted in the Boston Marathon bombing.
Wow, were you anywhere near that?
I was about a half a mile from the finish line.
Wow.
At the time. We got stopped and we had to wait for over an hour, and there was very little information on what was going on. And at that point, the summer came and the fall, and the process that had been used in the past by Framingham to allocate the bibs that they get from the BAA was sort of political. It was sort of non-transparent. It was really relatively unknown in the community, how people would acquire those bibs. And Dennis G. and Betty and I, who were both on the selectmen at the time, thought we could do better with those bibs. And the Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to establish Team Framingham. Mm-hmm. And as part of that, we have a lottery. Framingham residents and Framingham City and school employees can apply to get a bib. There's a fundraising requirement for charitable local charities. And we also run a training program. So for the past 8+ years, we're now in our 9th year of running Team Framingham. Our runners have raised over $710,000.
That's so impressive. So why Force this year?
Framingham Force, I just like the mission. The charities are selected by lottery as well. So Cathy and Force and other charities put their names in, and we had the lottery back in early December, and Force was chosen. And again, I just like their message. It touched me personally, and I really wanted to help the cause of helping people in recovery from addiction. And it was very, very important to me that I support that. And I've been friends with Cathy and Dave for probably close to 15 years now. So it was really a no-brainer for me to select Force as my charity.
So Cathy, what does this mean for Force having? Is this the first time you've tried to be connected to the marathon?
We've tried one or two other times,
Okay,
because Force is not has not been around all that long. But you know, what it means to force, besides the obvious of raising funds, and Mike is you know, a champion at raising funds. So besides the fact that we have 3 runners, potentially at minimum $12,000.
Who were the other 2 runners?
So Luciana Soares and Jen Brine.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
Byrne.
Byrne.
Yep.
Sorry, Jen.
Well,
So besides raising money, which is the obvious, it's
Yes.
raising awareness, right? And Mike has a very, very wide connection. We know a lot of the same people, but the other 2 runners we know, probably don't know as many, so that's spreading our message very far and very wide of recovery and hope. And you'll learn a little bit more about our organization, but it's very important that we spread the word that recovery is possible, that recovery happens, and give people hope and know, although there's a lot of tragedy related to addiction and substance use disorder, there is hope. People do get better.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a few minutes. I just had wanted to, so Mike, we had a couple of pictures here of you running. And I guess the most exhilarating part is finishing, right, of the race here. So this is kind of early in the race, I guess.
This is mile 17.
No, 17. Well, you look pretty fresh there.
In Newton. I remember this picture well.
Do you sort of set a time goal? I mean, some people wanted to finish in 6 hours. And, if it was me, it would be like 6 days maybe.
I don't do that I did at the beginning when I first started running marathons. I always had these goals, and my original goal was to break the 4-hour mark and get in the 3 hours. That never happened.
Get close?
I did 4:02.
Oh, okay.
At one of, not Boston, but another
Well, we've got
marathon.
a couple more of you finishing here too.
Yeah. This is the Monsoon Marathon in 2018. Cathy and David Miles are volunteers and have been for many, many years at the finish line, and that's Cathy and I.
We always try to get a picture with Mike.
Exactly.
Okay,
That keeps us going.
So what do you do volunteering at the finish line? That's
Mostly it's
interesting.
crowd control.
Okay.
We're right beyond the finish line. So mostly we're directing traffic, telling people where they can go, where they can't go, trying to keep the space safe for the runners.
And Cathy's actually holding me up there. I was ready to collapse probably. I don't know.
No, you look pretty comfortable
We're all
there.
pretty wet.
I'd be
Pretty
bent
wet
over
and
and
cold.
gasping if not lying on the ground. We have another one here. There you go.
Yeah.
Here's
we
David. Yep.
Okay, so you didn't happen to be volunteering the year they had the explosion?
No, we didn't. In fact, the reason why we were able to volunteer was because there was a long waiting list of people to get in.
Yeah.
But the year after the bombing, they doubled the number of volunteers. So we were able to apply and be accepted. So.
My Berkeley office was almost right above where that
Yeah.
happened. I could have, that picture they had of the terrorists coming around the corner, I could have taken that picture from my office. I was looking right on the corner of Mass and Hereford, I think it is. Or, no, it's Fairfield. I don't get my street.
Well, yeah,
Fairfield,
we were
I
in
think.
Framingham. We
but that
watched
was,
in Framingham that
Yeah,
year.
so that really is,
The 2014 marathon, the year after, was really special. That's the one when Cathy first got involved, and they expanded the field to 36,000 runners. And I would say that they have a lot more than that. There were some estimates that there were 40,000 runners participating, just to have that sense of making up for what happened the year before and taking back the finish line.
and then it got smaller last year, and it's is it come back to 30,000 this year?
It's back to 30,000.
Yeah.
You're right. Last year
Yeah.
they cut it to 20,000, and this year is back to 30,000. And they have, again, they always over. They'll have 32,000 actually.
Sure,
from what
there's
I've heard.
you can still get in it as what do they call it, a rabbit or something?
No, they don't allow that, but
You can't just
Bandit.
Bandit, yeah.
yeah, they try to avoid
Rosie
that.
Ruiz made that famous, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was registered, right?
She was
She just
Oh,
registered.
she started late.
Oh, she
Started
just
Copley
took the
Square, I think. Now Kenmore
Yeah.
Square.
It
But
was a day I might have been able to do that.
Right.
Well, let's get into a little more about FORCE. On your logo there, you've got what FORCE stands for.
Yeah, so it's fostering opioid recovery, compassion, and education. So
That's a lot of words. We'll put it in a little shorter.
So like I
phrase.
said-
We've got a couple of things that talk about the mission. I'll slides of that coming up here.
yeah,
But,
so basically, while we recognize, of course, and you'll see a slide of that at the end, that there are many tragedy and deaths associated with the opioid crisis, we really want to focus on recovery and giving people hope, because when you think about some of the organizations that support recovery, Alcoholic Anonymous, so it's anonymous, so a lot of people don't want to talk about the recovery, and you can understand why. There's a lot of stigma attached to it, there's a lot of shame, and so if people aren't talking about the recovery, then nobody knows that there are people that do recover. They just hear about the people who don't recover and all of the negative associated with it. So we want to try to encourage people in recovery to talk about it, to give them support, to help them bridge the gap between when they come out of treatment and all the necessary supports that they need that they maybe don't get, like finding a job and housing and trying to really build their life back up again. So really, you see
That's
what
the
our
vision.
vision
You have
is.
another one on beliefs. I think we have a
Right,
chart
so
coming up.
you know, to really eliminate the stigma, because it can really happen to anyone. It's a disease, and that words matter, how you say things, what words you choose to describe substance use disorder. They matter. They create a stigma, and it's not only, you know, using person first language, a person with substance use disorder, a person with an addiction. You don't say an addict, because you don't want to label somebody. You want to, they're much more than their addiction. And also that one life alone is really, really worth saving. You know, we can just do it one life at a time.
Right.
So.
Well, we have a little video that you gave that we'll put up here. And you mentioned here about diversity and differing opinions and.
Well, and that there's many different ways to find recovery, and there isn't just one way to do it, and it's not a moral failing, and I think the video explains a lot of that.
If they're honest with themselves, probably have someone, a loved one, a family, friend, that is struggling with some sort of addiction.
Traditionally, people with substance use disorder have been seen as less than human, not deserving of the same equal rights, the same equal treatment as people with more traditional illnesses.
And we need for people to understand that they can get better. And we need the community to understand that this is a disease, and this is not something that somebody did wrong, and this is not bad parenting.
Substance use disorder is a neurological disease, just like any other disease that people suffer. So we should not have a stigma to look at people suffering from that disease differently.
FORCE was founded because Cathy Miles and Joan Grzyvna identified that in the community there was a gap, and that was that there was a lack of support services for people in active addiction or people on their recovery journey.
Organizations such as Framingham Force able to help those families make the connection, be a supportive voice, at the same time coordinate the effort in the community grassroots level to fight the stigma.
One of Force's missions is to break down that stigma, and one of the ways we hope to do that, besides helping people learn the words that are less hurtful, is to normalize the conversation.
If this disease was really going to be done away with, we really needed to speak about it openly.
Framingham Force, I believe, has a unique position because in the opioid crisis, a lot of people focus on people who are having a crisis in the immediacy, and I think Hope Force is able to help people after that point.
Framingham Force feel an important void in the community that the city government doesn't have enough resources to do, and there's no community-based organization that are doing that.
All of the money that we get goes directly back to people in recovery or for education or for awareness.
90% of the furniture comes from Framingham Force. They called us and we went down and it was amazing. It was a big office and they told us to take what you want. Then they just came and gave us laptops, desks, chairs. So we were able to make we're in the process of making a resource room for them so they can go in there, get online.
So we talked about that, and you've got an amazing bunch of volunteers that have been involved in this, and we've got a couple pictures here coming up of some of the leaders in the group, and you have an impressive board as well that you were saying about.
Right. I thought it was important to fill my board with, number one, people who had some connections, and so I'll just quickly name who we have. We have George King, who's on the city council. We have Joan Capite, who with George was one of the co-founders with me. We have M.K. Feeney, who's run for several different offices. Priscilla Souza, who's running for rep. Kathy O'Leary, who now works for the city, and then of course my husband, Dave Miles. But we thought it was important to fill the board with people familiar with recovery and touched directly, like myself and my husband, and then also people people who maybe haven't been touched directly, but maybe indirectly, or maybe not at all.
There's a larger group.
And this is a larger group. This was at MetroFest, where we did some Narcan training so that people can carry Narcan. The Department of Public Health does Narcan training. So this.
And Karen Spilka has been quite involved.
Karen Spilka has been very involved and very supportive, and she has earmarked money for us 2 years and 2 out of our 3 years, not during the pandemic when money was really all sort of sheltered, given to more of the pandemic. But yes, she's given us earmark funds, which we use, which has been very helpful for Framingham Force, and she's been a very big champion of us.
And you've had a number of events that you've run. This looks like what is
This
this?
is the Team Framingham.
Oh, this is Team Framingham, okay.
Yeah, this is one of our training runs over the years. We have 8 to 11 training runs during the course of the winter with the team runners, and this is one of our bigger gatherings. We also have support from the Greater Framingham Running Club mentors. They come and join us on our runs, and we do open up our team runs to any Framingham resident who's running the marathon, even if they got their number from another source. So the group runs are really helpful. They're really helpful.
We touched about if Jake on the camera here could zoom in on your medals here, which are just 2 of what, probably 26 that you must have. These are all made out of solid gold, I imagine. Like
no, I wish that were the case.
Just kind of zoom in on that and on the medals here. They're very impressive.
I brought the 2 special ones from. This is 2013. This was actually the year of the bombing, and then 2014, the year after. So. They mean a lot to me because of,
there we
what
go.
happened.
And it's kind of special this year. The colors of the marathon kind of match the Ukrainian flag, which is certainly in everybody's hearts and minds these days. And
these have been the colors of the BAA for quite a bit of time. So.
Colors of my Trinity College alma mater too. So blue and gold anyway. Anyway, let's get back to Force a little bit here, and I started to touch on some of the events that you've had. I think we've got a picture of what looks like an art event or something.
Yep.
There it is.
So we did what was called the Opioid Project, where we brought together people in recovery with first responders. And the purpose was to share stories so that people in recovery first responders could hear from people in recovery. Because if you think about a first responder, an ambulance driver, a police officer, really all they see are repeat offenders, and they don't see that people do recover. And so we wanted for them to have some compassion and for them to also get some hope, to know that their job was so important, that they were giving life back to people that eventually recovered. So they were creating their own artwork to describe what their journey looked like. So the people in recovery maybe showed their journey from being in active addiction to recovery, and the first responders sort of showed what it was like to save a life or be involved in someone's recovery. And also to see that their work, it's easy to get burnt out, and to see that their work really mattered. And hopefully we were going to showcase this right before the pandemic, so we'll have an art show where you can see all of these artwork, but we are going to have something probably during Recovery Month at ATAC.
What is Recovery Month?
Recovery Month is in September. So August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day, and when you see the flags, you'll know that that's when we put up the flags.
Okay.
And that's to honor.
There's the flag.
There are the flags, so that's to honor the lives lost. And then after that, September starts Recovery Month.
So these are up largely for the month of September. I know
these are probably, no, we take them down for September because September is about recovery. So we put them up a little bit before Opioid Overdose Awareness Day, which is August 31st. And we have a little program where we talk about the people who have passed or, what we're doing to help to promote recovery. And we put down over 2,000 flags, which is the number. It was going down for a while, and then the pandemic hit, and the number started rising again with all of the mental.
So 2,000 in Massachusetts is
in 1 year.
Is per year is a staggering number.
It is a staggering
number. It really is. I mean, And that's more than we lost to the pandemic, I think, in Massachusetts.
It is.
Isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
and I think
It's a lot,
yeah,
yeah.
it is a lot.
You know, and when you think of, you know, and so the kind of awareness and the publicity that you need to address this. Have they identified any particular strategies that are the most helpful if somebody has a child or someone in their family who they maybe are sense are going down this road?
Well, I mean, science is taking a much bigger part in opioid and substance use disorder because, and this is not to throw any, you know, shame or shade on Alcohol Anonymous, but,
Right.
you know, abstinence is not for everybody, and it works for many, but doesn't work for everyone. So they now have medication that can help with certain substances, not everyone, unfortunately, not every substance, but particularly opioids. So they have medicine for that, treatment that, and they found, you know, organizations like Alcohol Anonymous that give people a sense of, you know, belonging also help. But again, it's not for everybody. And I think the most important, you know, being a family member myself, I think the most important thing that you can remember is that there's many paths to recovery, and what works for one is not, you know.
There's
and
probably
I think
many paths to getting into it as well.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
and sometimes, you know, some people can take one drink and then put it down, right? And
Right.
some people, one drink is too many, and
Right.
that's the same thing with taking, you know, a Percocet. I was prescribed Percocet and made me nauseous, never wanted to do it again. But somebody who
Right.
has an addiction problem takes one Percocet and
It thinks it helped,
think, you know, right.
and then it goes on from there.
And it goes on from there. And some people start because they were prescribed it for dental work. Some people prescribe it for the sports,
Really?
you know, talk
Wow.
about a sports show, a sports
Yeah,
injury.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then you can watch some of the shows that, you know, the Sackler family really just put a lot of misinformation out there and really pushed
Really?
it.
Yeah. Well, when you
So-
talk about 2,000 deaths, there must be a much greater number of people who are impacted by this. They haven't died yet, but their life is being upset. Maybe they've lost their job, they're flunking out of school, or having crises in their family. And I mean, that number has got to be in the
Absolutely.
millions, or certainly hundreds of thousands, I bet. And
Well, there's a lot, and I mean, even people that are in recovery sometimes face a lot of barriers. There's stigma, people that are, you know, require doctor's appointments. You know, I've been on a bunch of different initiatives trying to create recovery-friendly workplaces, encourage employers to hire people in recovery. So,
this may be an unfair question, or maybe an ignorant question on my part, but how would you think the legalization of marijuana has played into this? Is that positive because that's a less problematic drug, or is it negative because it's getting people onto this road of substance abuse?
so I think yes to both of those
Yeah.
things. No,
Yeah.
I
mean,
really
is there a
do.
sense that one side of that is
Well,
greater than the other? Or is that,
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about it because when you think about how many people are in, you know, prison because of just, you know,
right?
Yeah.
smoking marijuana or, you know, some
Right.
crimes of, you know,
Right.
that shouldn't be in prison, right?
Or getting poorly made stuff.
Right.
and, you know.
But on the other hand, I think the problem is that when you legalize something like that and you don't have the necessary safeguards in place, it could be a runaway train. That's the scary
So
part.
does Force have pamphlets out at the marijuana stores?
No, we really don't. I mean, we really don't
No.
get into that.
Yeah, okay.
You know, we haven't. You know, I spoke against it, but I do have mixed feelings about it because I don't think people should be in jail. But I don't think
Right.
they should be in jail for using heroin either, though. So that's another, you know, another whole.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's hard.
So, Mike, how does the story of Force and all that relate to your run? Is this do you have a connection to this as to why you chose it, or do you have a?
Well, I chose, like I said, I chose it because I really like the mission. You know, we've had some addiction in our family, and you know, some of it's led to some tragic situations.
Oh,
and,
really?
you know, it sort of was the charity to choose for me, because had some of those services been around, maybe some of those tragedies could have been averted.
Right.
So for me, that's why I chose Force, just because there's a personal connection there to it and to its mission. But
And that'll inspire you as you get to Heartbreak Hill, huh?
Yeah, well, we did that last weekend too. So we ran from the Hopkinton. The team was out there last Saturday. We ran from Hopkinton to Boston College. So we went through Heartbreak Hill, and it is heartbreaking at times. So yeah, any positive thoughts that we have will get us through that.
Do you walk? I have a question. Do you walk at all during the route?
At times up those hills, sometimes
Yeah.
depending on the weather. If it's very hot, we walk up. I walk up. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
Because you just expend too much energy running
Now
up
that you're
those
not
hills.
trying to beat 4 hours.
No, no. I mean, I'd like to break 5 hours this year, but you know, I'm getting a little older.
We'll be
so-
there waiting for you.
But you've done that before.
Yeah. Oh no,
yeah.
I've.
Yeah, well,
Most
you
of my
said
marathons are in
402
the
was pretty impressive.
Yeah, most of my marathons
Yeah.
have been in the 4 to 30, 40 range. But you know, as I've gotten older, you know, the last few have sort of slipped
Is that
into
what
the
inspired you? I mean, so you started 26 years ago? Do you have a
Well,
streak, or have you missed a couple?
This isn't 26 Boston Marathon.
Oh,
I've done.
okay.
This is my 16th Boston.
Oh, okay.
I've also done 10 others.
Where else have you been?
Lowell in particular,
Lowell,
the Bay State Marathon, and the Cape Cod Marathon.
Right.
Both of those are in the fall.
Uh-huh.
I prefer the fall just because
I would
it's
think, yeah.
nicer,
So a nice day and
predictable weather,
Yeah.
more so than April can be. But
Yeah, I'm just amazed. I mean, I had a number of runners on here, first-timers and veterans like yourself, and you know, the commitment that it takes to do it. I mean, I ran some 10Ks back in the day when I had better knees and was a lot younger, but 26 is kind of a...
it's a
it's
a
not
long way.
26K, it's 26 Cathy Mileses.
It's 42 and a half K to be exact. So we prefer to
If
use
they
the
were to ever
smaller
run
number.
that often, yeah, so it's 20. I was thinking of the Smoot Bridge and
Oh, up in
where they
yeah,
measured the
Mass
thing.
Ave, right?
So you have a race that's named after you.
Oh, I do?
The miles. 26 of you would get from Framingham to.
Yeah.
So running through Framingham has got to be exhilarating with the 6 mile mark and.
Yeah, actually, we
Yeah.
enter Framingham right. I mean, literally at the 5 miles into the race is the border of Framingham, and then we're in the city for approximately 2.5 miles. And we enter Natick around mile 7.5. So running down past the train station, it gets crowded. The La Cantina is always crowded with mobs up on the Winter Street Bridge. That's a very packed stretch. And then as we go through the center of town, the fire trucks actually put flags over the course with their ladders, the hook and ladders, and they've strung an American flag across the street. It's really nice. And this
great.
year, you know, you'll notice if you're down there in that area, we have our Team Framingham banners. The street banners are on utility poles. Each runner had a banner made with their photo on it, with a banner sponsor who contributed $500 to the charity for each banner.
Right.
And those are adorning downtown Framingham right now.
Well, just as as this race is going to run fast, I'm afraid our half hour is kind of running out. One last thing to do: we will put up the website that somebody can look to contribute to your effort here. It's giveandgain.com, and I think they can do a search for Mike Bauer, Bower,
or Jennifer Byrne,
Or
Byrne, or Luciana Souza, who's also running for us.
and we will also put up the website for Force, which is www.framinghamforce.org. Correct?
Correct.
And I will thank the both of you for joining us today. You've made great guesses, as I would have expected, and it's a terrific charity, and I think it's great that we've had a chance to get a little more exposure to what Force means and what it takes to run 26 miles 26 times. So that's a
Thank
nice
you for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and people out there in TV land, come back and watch Framingham Fan to Fan. We're on 4 nights a week in the early Saturday mornings, around 8:30, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And get out and jog and get out and support these guys. There's 22 different runners running for different charities in Framingham, and they're all great causes, and this is really a terrific one. So thank you both.
All right.
Thank you.